Imagine going to the doctor, getting diagnosed with cancer, and then realizing something shocking. Even in modern medicine, a lot of treatment decisions are still made with incomplete data. Your medical records might be in one system, your genetic testing in another, your imaging scans somewhere else, your treatment history buried inside PDFs, and the doctor only has a small window of time to piece it all together and decide which therapy could work best. That is the problem Tempus AI is trying to solve. They want to build the operating system for precision medicine, one that taps into the collective knowledge of millions of patients who came before you, where AI doesn't just analyze your scan, it predicts how your specific tumor will respond and matches you to the perfect trial. That sounds like science fiction, but that's the vision of Tempus AI, one of the most exciting companies at the intersection of artificial intelligence, genomics, and real-world healthcare data. Tempus AI was founded in 2015 by Eric Lefkofsky. Many people know him as the co-founder of Groupon, but the story behind Tempus is deeply personal. After his wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, he saw firsthand how fragmented healthcare data really was. There was plenty of information available, but it wasn't organized in a way that made it easy for doctors to use. Lefkofsky, despite having no healthcare background, spent a year talking to oncologists. He saw the problem clearly. Mountains of clinical notes, genomic data, and imaging existed, but they were siloed and underutilized. No one was building modern technological infrastructure to help doctors make better treatment decisions. And that made no sense. In August 2015, he founded Tempus in Chicago. Originally called BioIn, it quickly evolved into Tempus Labs and then Tempus AI. The mission: build a platform that collects, structures, and analyzes vast amounts of clinical, molecular, and imaging data to deliver personalized medicine at scale. The company started with oncology because cancer is one of the clearest areas where precision medicine can make a difference. But the long-term vision was much bigger. Tempus wanted to apply this model across many areas of healthcare, including cardiology, hereditary diseases, neurology, psychiatry, rare diseases, radiology, and digital pathology. In other words, Tempus started as an oncology-focused company, but it is working to become a broad AI-powered healthcare platform. To understand Tempus, let's simplify the business. The company has three main engines working together. The first engine is diagnostics, currently the largest part of the business. Tempus runs advanced genetic and molecular tests, especially in oncology. These tests help doctors understand what's happening inside a patient's cancer and which treatments may be most effective. For example, Tempus analyzes tumor tissue, liquid biopsies, hereditary risk, and minimal residual disease. This matters because cancer treatment is increasingly driven by biomarkers. If a patient has a specific mutation, they may qualify for a targeted therapy, immunotherapy, or clinical trial. This makes diagnostics the foundation of Tempus, but diagnostics are not only a revenue source, they also generate valuable data. Every test creates more molecular and clinical information. Every patient adds more data to the platform, and every new data point can improve future insights. That leads to the second engine: data and applications. This is where Tempus becomes much more than a testing company. Tempus licenses de-identified healthcare data, analytics, and AI-powered tools to pharmaceutical companies, biotech firms, and researchers. These customers use the data to improve clinical trial design, discover biomarkers, identify patients, generate real-world evidence, and support drug development. This segment is especially attractive because it often delivers better economics than traditional diagnostics. Diagnostics create the data. Data and applications monetize it. That's what makes Tempus different from a normal lab company. A traditional diagnostics firm runs a test and gets paid once. Tempus runs the test, gets paid, collects the data, improves its platform, and monetizes that data through pharma partnerships and AI applications. And finally, the third engine is AI. This includes AI-powered reports, clinical decision support tools, foundation models, ECG algorithms for heart conditions, digital pathology tools, and software that helps doctors and pharma companies make better decisions. This is still one of the newer parts of the business, but it could become one of the most powerful long-term growth drivers. The future of healthcare AI won't be built on simple chatbots. It will be built on high-quality medical data, clinical validation, regulatory trust, and real workflow integration. That's where Tempus has a major advantage. Today, they have over 45 million patient records, more than 500 petabytes of data, and millions of sequence samples and images. They're connected to over 65% of U.S. academic medical centers and more than 55% of oncologists, and 95% of the top pharma companies use their offerings. In short, Tempus already has the data, the testing infrastructure, the doctor relationships, and the pharma partnerships. This scale is extremely difficult to replicate, and that's the core of their moat. And here's the most exciting part. Tempus is not just another AI hype company. It has already generated more than $1 billion in revenue and is growing fast. For context, in 2020, they had around $188 million in revenue. Today, the company has reached roughly $1.36 billion. That's an enormous jump in a short time. In June 2024, Tempus went public. After the IPO, the company became much more aggressive with acquisitions and platform expansion. That brings us to three key deals: Ambry Genetics, Tempus AI, and Paige. First, Ambry Genetics. Ambry is a leader in hereditary genetic testing. This deal expanded Tempus beyond cancer treatment decisions into hereditary risk assessment, population genetics, rare diseases, cardiology, and neurology. It gives Tempus a much broader testing menu and more germline data. That matters, because germline data is different from tumor data. It helps doctors understand inherited risks. This supports preventative care, early detection, family risk assessment, and long-term health planning. In simple terms, Ambry helps Tempus move earlier in the healthcare journey, identifying risk before disease develops or worsens. The second important acquisition was Tempus AI. Tempus specializes in clinical trial matching, a major bottleneck in drug development. Pharma companies spend billions on trials, but finding the right patients is incredibly hard. Tempus uses real-time health system data to identify eligible patients quickly. For Tempus, this strengthens connections between hospitals, doctors, patients, and pharma, making the platform even more valuable. And the third major acquisition was Paige, a digital pathology AI company. This acquisition added millions of digitized pathology slide images and advanced AI tools. Pathology slides contain enormous medical information. With digital pathology and AI, Tempus can now analyze patterns, predict biomarkers, and support diagnoses in ways that weren't possible before. This makes the platform truly multimodal, combining clinical records, genomics, and imaging. That's powerful because the best healthcare AI systems of the future will integrate multiple data types, not just one. Now let's talk about the financials. Tempus is a fast-growing company, but it is not yet consistently profitable. That's the most important thing to understand. The good news is the revenue growth and improving unit economics. Gross margins have expanded dramatically, from low levels years ago to more than 60% in 2025. That shows the platform is becoming more efficient as it scales. However, Tempus is still unprofitable and carries a meaningful amount of debt, largely from strategic acquisitions and investments. That means execution will be critical. The company needs to keep growing revenue, expanding margins, integrating acquisitions smoothly, and moving closer to sustainable free cash flow. Because it's not yet profitable, the stock can be volatile and heavily influenced by sentiment, guidance, and margin trends. Also, as a healthcare company, Tempus faces inherent risks, heavy dependence on reimbursement, regulatory hurdles for AI tools, and the need for clinical validation and doctor trust. Healthcare AI moves slower than consumer AI for good reason. Here's how I personally think about Tempus. The company sits at the intersection of three massive trends: artificial intelligence, genomics, and precision medicine. Each is powerful on its own, but together they create an enormous opportunity. Healthcare has one of the biggest data problems in the world. There's massive amounts of patient information, but much of it is fragmented and hard to use. Tempus is organizing that data and turning it into actionable medical intelligence. Right now, it's a high-risk, high-reward opportunity. But this isn't just a startup with a nice pitch deck. It's a real business with real revenue, real customers, and real clinical impact, which still needs to prove it can generate sustainable profits and free cash flow. If they do, Tempus has the ingredients to become one of the most important healthcare AI companies of the next decade. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next fundamentals breakdown. This is for educational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research before investing. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.